later.
Now, here's a very British topic. Queuing.
Yeah.
It's part of our national characteristic,
It
isn't
is, isn't it?
People say so. But people think we're happy to stand politely without making a fuss till our turn comes. But
not anymore. A survey suggests that modern Britons are running out of patience with the queue. It found half of shoppers will not go into a store if they see a long queue, and they'll give up if they have to wait more than 5 minutes. Well, we managed to get some people to stick around long enough to ask them what they thought.
We all have to queue. It's a British thing, isn't it?
It's very difficult when you're short on time. It would be better if we had better queuing systems.
Oh, it's no problem at all, really. It's something that you're brought up to do over in England. It's not like being abroad, is it? You know, where they push and shove you out of the way.
The worst thing for me really is when people get angry, because there's no point in that at all.
I obviously would prefer not to, but it's, part of life, something you do have to do, so not a major issue.
The worst queue will be post office. Like one time I was buying stamps and I literally stood there for 40 minutes just to buy stamps at the post office, yeah.
Minimal time, that's what I'd like to be queued for, and maybe some sort of entertainment and free drinks or something while I'm waiting.
oh, we'll all queue for a free drink. What is it then about queuing that makes us so mad? What are retailers doing about customer service to shorten the line we spend fuming in queues? With us now, psychologist Karen Cullen and Clare Rayner, who's a retail expert. Morning to you both.
Hello.
Claire, you work for fast food restaurants, supermarkets and other shops. First of all, are they all aware of how much we really don't like to queue very much? Is it something that they keep in mind?
Absolutely. The store managers are actually targeted to reduce the queuing time. And of course, an enormous amount of time and effort is invested in putting in place labour scheduling systems to ensure that staff is available to call up to open tills. But the problem arises when all the tills are open and the place is still heaving.
Yes. This survey suggests, Karen, that things have changed in terms of our tolerance levels. We are simply not prepared to wait anymore. We used to be, wait in line, but now we'll just walk out rather than
Interesting,
stay.
isn't it? Maybe in these times of emotional intelligence and being able to communicate and, being aware of our sort of processes, people are sort of thinking about what's important to them and are being more sort of expressive about frustrations.
Are we becoming more impatient then?
Well, that's one way of putting it. Possibly it's about expressing, what's acceptable and being aware that they're, customers are a sort of valuable resource in themselves, and that retailers have got to take account of their feelings.
Of course, Claire, there are queues and queues, aren't there? You've got your single line queue, you've got your funnel queue, you've got your getting a ticket queue.
Absolutely.
Is there a favourite?
I've got no perception of there being a favourite, apart from where you've got some real intelligence around the way the queue is managed. And however it's formatted, for instance, theme parks, they've absolutely worked out how to keep people amused in queues that can go on for hours.
For a 5-minute ride? Or
exactly, yes.
But Martin writes, and he says he queues a lot at theme parks, he says you could be standing there for 2 hours for a 1-minute ride, and he regularly accepts it, never seen anybody upset. Is that, though, Karen, because you know there's going to be something lovely at the end of that queue, and also you see people coming off the ride, and there's clearly some gratification. So it's worth waiting in the queue because you're going to get a reward.
Absolutely. I mean, in terms of, sort of cognitive preparation, in terms of having the right mindset, if, as you say, there's something worth waiting for, if it's a scarce commodity, if there's something useful to do or something interesting to do, then the queue isn't going to be so bad. But when all of those are absent, then people will talk with their feet, won't they? They'll just walk off, and that's what this survey showed, apparently.
I love that. Cognitive preparation. Is a
cognitive preparation.
Well, businesses need to do a bit more cognitive preparation, don't they?
Well, I think what Karen's touching on there is the difference between a need and a want. So the convenience retailers have absolutely nailed the fact that people will pay a higher price for fast and immediate gratification of their needs. Whereas if you want an iPad on the day of launch, you queue for hours. And that's fine, because when you come away with it, you're one of the very few people who've got that new and desirable thing.
Just between the four of us, and one or two people who probably aren't listening very closely, is there a secret to queuing? In other words, apart from barging everybody else out of the way, which doesn't really work, which we would not approve of, but is there,
Yeah, I suppose that my top tip would be choose your cues carefully. You know, be selective.
Oh, have you ever done that? Have you not always found that you think this queue is the one that's moving fastest? You step in it and all of a sudden it slows down.
Yeah, I was thinking of to queue or not to queue, I suppose. But yes, you're right. You can't really predict that, and it just illustrates it's a complex human phenomenon, and you know, you're going to have to make judgments in the moment.
What about being more sort of informative if you're in the queue? Could businesses, if they told you, for example, especially if you're hanging on the phone, do businesses who say you're third in line, sixth in line, do they do better? Do people hang on if they know where they are in the queue?
I believe so. In my experience, I found that people are much more willing to stay in the line longer or on the hold system longer if they feel that they are being progressed forward, that they're being acknowledged, and that somebody is sort of recognising and thanking them for the fact that they're waiting for service. And that's all part of the service experience. It's very important, that acknowledgement.
But when you hear them say, your call is important to us, for the fifth time, you think, actually, it's not, is
Can't be
it
that
really?
important,
Yeah, can't be that
otherwise you'll be
important.
speaking to me.
Exactly.
Thank
Having
you
said
very
that,
much, both.
thank you both. Carol has written to us and said, queuing, it's an opportunity to stand relatively still, which we don't do very often these days. So, you know, psychologically it might be quite good for you. You can think about other things.
Elsa says, I'm quite happy to queue and wait my turn. Hate it when others try to jump. I've even had some people try to get in before me with a wee basket of shopping when I've got a big trolley. And you know who's the worst for trying to queue jump like that? She says, old folk.
No. Michael says, queuing's a real pain sometimes. If he sees a queue, he walks in the opposite direction usually. Or it would be made a lot easier if there are specific queues to suit your needs.
And a lot of people writing in about the attitude of staff, for example, if you have somebody behind the tills who apologises for the queue or makes some sort of eye contact with you, then it's a lot easier. But if they don't, or if they're on the phone or chatting amongst themselves, then a few of you writing in to say you won't bother. Thank you for those.